Question 4. Solve the pair of simultaneous equations, making sure that we show clear algebraic working throughout. So there's more than one way of doing this. I'm going to show both ways here. The first method would be to make the x's the same, and the second method is going to be to make the y's the same. Now you don't have to do both of these methods. You would start one way or the other, and then later on substitute back in to find your other letter. So if we're looking to try and make the x's the same, we'll look at what 7 and 3 both go into, which is 21. So 21x is what we will want for both of our x terms here. In order to make that happen, we would need to have multiplied equation 1 by 3 and multiply equation 2 by 7. So technically, this is what we would have to do to each equation in order to get our 21x's. So if we look at our minus 2y times 3, we get a minus 6y. Our 34 times 3, we're going to get 102. For the other equation, our 5y times 7 will give us a 35y. And our minus 3 times 7 gives us a minus 21. From here, we're now going to take these equations away from each other. It technically doesn't matter whether or not you do top take away bottom or bottom take away top, because either way, 21x take away 21x will equal 0. But what I would do is look at the y's and just see which one is easier to do there. If we have minus 6 minus 35, that's going to end up giving us a negative. So if we actually do bottom take away top, then we're going to have a 35 minus 6y, which gives us a 41y. Now we can't avoid negatives on the other side, but the important thing here is that at least if your letter term on the left is positive, there's less likely you're going to make a mistake with negatives. Minus 21 take away 102 is going to give us minus 123. And then when we divide both sides by 41 here, we're going to end up with y equals minus 3. Once we figured out what y is, we're going to sub it back into either of the equations, whichever one looks nicest. I'm going to pick this one on the bottom here, just because there's less negatives involved with the letter terms. So that 3x, we don't know what x is yet, plus 5y, we do know what y is yet, so I substitute this minus 3 in, equals minus 3. And then we simplify and solve this equation. So 3x, 5 times negative 3 is negative 15, and all of that equals negative 3. Add 15 to both sides will give us 3x is 12, and then divide both sides by 3 gives us x is 4. So x is 4 and y is minus 3 are the answers, and that is how we do it if we make the x's the same. What I'm about to show now is what will happen if we make the y's the same. So again, just to reiterate, you do not need to do both of these methods. I'm just showing the two main ways here. Now, I say the same. What I actually really mean is the opposite. The way that the y's are set up, with one being negative and one being positive, in my opinion, this is actually a nicer way to be able to solve equations by elimination, because it means that we're going to be adding equations together later to get our stuff to cancel. In order to get 2 and 5 the same number, we're going to have to multiply that top equation by 5 and the bottom equation by 2. When we do that, we're going to end up with a 35x minus 10y equals 170. And in the second equation, doubling everything there, will give us a 6x plus a 10y equals minus 6, like so. In order to make these y terms cancel, because one of them is positive and one of them is negative, if we add them together, they will cancel, and this makes it easier for the other stuff. We'll have a 35x plus 6x, giving us a 41x. On the other side, we have 170 plus a minus 6 gives us 164. Divide both sides by 41 here, and we end up with x equals 4. And then once we've got our x value, sub it back into whatever equation makes sense. That second one here, I'm going to pick for the same reasons as before. There's less negatives. So we end up with 3 lots of x, which is now 4, plus 5y equals minus 3. 3 4s are 12, plus 5y is minus 3. Take away 12 from both sides will give us a 5y is minus 15, and then divide both sides by 5 will give us y is minus 3. Exactly the same two answers as we had before. We are done.